Hello, my friends. Things are going so well for the Russians today, going exactly according to plan, that they've started a mandatory evacuation in two more districts in the Kursk region. Meanwhile, shelling of the border settlements in the Sumy region continues without pause, and the situation there is very difficult. But France, things won't be getting easy anytime soon. The US State Department stated, following negotiations between Biden and the UK Prime Minister, the US is not ready to lift restrictions on long range Ukrainian strikes deep into Russia. As we can see, they've pulled back, and the UK will similarly not allow Ukraine to strike into Russia with Storm Shadow missiles without US consent. Five former defense ministers and an ex-prime minister urged the current UK government head Starmer to act independently. They warned that delays would only embolden Putin. But as the publication states, the UK will not act alone. The government still believes the US will likely give the green light at the UN General Assembly in New York, although there are divisions in the Biden administration on this issue. Overall, our partners have shown weakness, and now Russia feels it has the upper hand and will continue to demand its terms regarding Ukraine. This means the war will continue as it has been, and no major changes should be expected in the near future. However, Zelenskyy hasn't lost hope for victory, saying that over 90% of the victory plan is ready, and next week this plan will be presented to the allies.
Необхідні для України кроки вже визначені абсолютно чітко. Те, що може дати нам максимально сильні позиції для наближення миру, реального, справедливого миру. Для кожного кроку є і чіткий перелік пунктів, що саме необхідно, що саме працюватиме на посилення. Жодної неможливої речі там немає. Більш ніж на 90% все виписано. І в комплексі цей пакет може забезпечити правильний розвиток ситуації не тільки для України, але й для усіх в світі, хто цінує міжнародне право. Вже на наступний тиждень ми готуємо план перемоги для представлення союзників.
So overall, we are waiting to see what the results will be. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Armed Forces continue to greatly advance toward Hlushkova after yesterday's successful movement to the outskirts of the settlement. Only 3 kilometers and 600 meters remain. In the area near the village of Snagost, the Ukrainian Armed Forces also managed to regain control of territory, and fighting is still ongoing there. It's likely that the Ukrainian Armed Forces will soon try to take control of the entire border area up to the water barrier. In the Kharkiv direction, the Russians continue shelling, but there has been no major activity along the front line. The attacks continue only in the Vovchansk area, but the Ukrainian Armed Forces are successfully repelling all assaults. In the past 24 hours, the front line hasn't shifted. However, to turn this situation back in Russia's favor, the Kremlin has effectively started a new mobilization. They are trying to conceal their losses as much as possible, so Putin simply signed a document supposedly increasing the size of the army. This marks the official start of a new large-scale mobilization. Meanwhile, in the Kupiansk direction, the Russians are intensifying their shelling of the entire frontline area and are trying to break through near Sinkivka, Petropavlivka, and further south. The situation is difficult in the areas of Hlushkivka, Kolesnikivka, and Krugliakivka. And the Russians are attempting to reach the water barrier, but the Ukrainian armed forces are doing everything possible to hold the defense. The fighting here remains intense, but there have been no changes in the last 24 hours. In the Svatove area, the Russians continue their attacks on Lozova, but so far the Ukrainian armed forces have been able to hold them back. However, the situation is more complicated further south. The Russians are trying to encircle Novoyegorivka, and fighting is ongoing near Druzhelyubivka and the village of Makiivka. According to some sources, there are reports that Makiivka is already under the control of the Russians, with video evidence showing Ukrainian forces using FPV drones to destroy Russians in this area. However, we're still awaiting official confirmation, as it's possible that the Russians are being eliminated and the village remains in a gray zone. In the direction of Kreminna, fighting continues near Nevsky and Terne, but there have been no changes in the situation as before. In the Siversk area, fighting continues near Bilogorivka, Verkhnyokamensky, Ivanodarivka, Vyimka, and Perayizne. The situation here is challenging, with the Russians maintaining the activity and increasing the number of shelling. The Russians claim that Spirne is under their control, but there is no video or photographic confirmation yet, so we are waiting for further verification. In the Chasiv Yar direction, fighting is ongoing near the tree line, and there is troubling information emerging that the Russians are once again breaking through towards the settlement of Stupachki, particularly along the road. We are still waiting for official confirmation of this. In the Toretsk direction, the Russians are gradually pushing further. This time, they are attempting to advance toward Sherbynivka. And as before, they are assaulting the outskirts of Toretsk and Nelipivka. The situation is very difficult, as all attacks are accompanied by heavy shelling. However, there have been no changes in the front line over the past 24 hours. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians continue their offensive, but activity has decreased by half. This could indicate that they are running out of strength, or perhaps they are regrouping. The Russians claim that they are consolidating their new positions and gathering reserves. Nevertheless, they continue shelling Pokrovsk, Novoekonomichne, and other frontline settlements. Fighting also persists along the highway, but the Ukrainian forces have managed to repel all attacks, and the front line has remained unchanged for a considerable time. Fighting for Hrodivka also continues, with Russian forces attempting to advance in the area of Novohrodivka and storming the outskirts of Seledove, Ukrainsk, and Zhelanne Druge. The situation remains extremely difficult. About Ukrainsk, the situation looks like this. The Russians claim to have almost taken control of the village, but in reality, they only control the eastern part. Ukrainian forces still hold the northern part, though they are nearly surrounded by Russian troops. This has been reported by Ukrainian Armed Forces soldiers, and there have been counterattacks to break the encirclement. How successful these efforts have been remains unclear, so we are waiting for the information. In the direction of Kurakhva, attacks on Katerynivka are ongoing, but elsewhere Russian activity has decreased after their successful advances near Hostre. For now, they are fortifying their positions and bringing in new reserves. In the Vuhledar direction, the Russians continue their assaults near Vodine, attempting to expand the territory under their control. Ukrainian soldiers reported yesterday that they had lost the mine, but today there is information that Russian forces were successfully destroyed, keeping the front line unchanged. However, it's evident that the Russians are planning to continue advancing in an attempt to encircle Vuhledar, which is a serious concern. There has been a significant increase in Shalin, and the Russians are preparing for further assaults. Near Velika Novosilka, the Russians are trying to take control of the village of Makiivka. However, there have been no significant changes in the past 24 hours. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, things are currently quiet, with no offensive actions being carried out by the Russians. In the Kherson direction, shelling of the right bank continues, and sporadic attacks near Kozachi Laheri also persist. However, the Russians haven't achieved any success there so far. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.